Well, one thing I know that Celtics fans are probably not grateful for is the fact that the Celtics did lose that Christmas Day game at the TD Garden, 118-114. And of course, it was to Philly, the Sixers. Tatum with 32 points, 15 rebounds, 4 assists. Brown 23 and 7, but no Drew Holiday because of that shoulder impingement. Overall, it was an entertaining game towards the end. But what did you two? What were the biggest takeaways from that loss for Boston?
This is a bad one. I mean, they've had a couple bad ones, and this was bad. One, because of the location. Two, because of the time of year. And three, they were already coming off a disappointing performance. So you would have thought that they would have been even more locked in for this game. But they just never seem to get any kind of flow, any kind of mojo, any kind of swagger that we're used to seeing the Celtics have. And Philly played like they had nothing to lose, which in many respects they did. It was one of the few occasions where they had their big three together. And you would think that for them to beat the Celtics, oh, it means that all three of their big three were clicking. And then you look at Paul George box line, and you're like, wait a minute, that's Paul George? I mean, if you watch the game, you're just like, nah, that ain't Paul George. That's like some little Grinch wannabe Paul George faking the funk, trying to be like Paul George on Christmas. Somebody got them little Paul George little outfit or something. They just trying to pretend to be Paul George. Nah, that was really Paul George. He has not been that good, even when he has been healthy for the Sixers. And 4 for 15 most nights is not going to cut it. To beat a team like Boston. But Boston, they just didn't, again, they just didn't put their imprint on the game the way they are typically used to doing. And you can go down the line after you get past Tatum and Brown, the guy that typically steps up, Peyton Pritchard, was horrible. I think he was like, 1 for 9, I think, shooting or something like that. So he was a non-factor. And then you look at the guys in those reserve roles, no one really stepped up to fill the void that Drew Holiday's absence had created. And frankly, not only did they fail to do that, but they failed to do the roles that they normally, occupy. And Philly was just making everything and then some. And we'll talk a little bit about it later. But, I mean, this was a game where just the Celtics, they didn't put their imprint on a game that you would have thought they would have played with a little bit more force, a little bit more focus. And the end result is you catch an L. That's what happens in the league.
Yeah, I thought the Celtics just came out slow. I just think they're not playing well. And they're just playing with a real kind of lackadaisical attitude, with a real laxness, and it's something that's going on. Like, I'm not talking about like there's controversy or anything like that. Just could be fatigue. Although they had all this time off during the in-season tournament to get some rest and things like that, but you come off this game against Orlando where you're up 15 at halftime and you just literally blow it and melt down in the fourth quarter against a bunch of kind of no-names, Tristan Da Silva and Trevelin Queen, and they have 3 of their top 4 scorers. So you think, like Sherrod said, you'd be mad, and then you just kind of stumble into the Philadelphia game. And the Sixers got talent. They haven't played well this season. They've gotten up. I think they've got off to a 2-13 start, but ever since then, I think they're now 11-17. So they're like 9, and they're like Milwaukee. They're starting to get it back. Okay, so they're going to be around in the playoff race. They're going to be, they're going to find their way, and they're finding their way. And you got Embiid, George, and Maxey. And then you just let Maxey just like have his way. 16 points in the first half. It just, to me, the defense has slipped. They turned the ball over too much. 6 turnovers in the first quarter. They just didn't. The crowd never really got into it to the last few minutes of the game. It was obviously full house Christmas Day. Everybody's feeling good, and the fans were just sort of like, give us a reason to cheer. And the Celtics just came out, fell behind early. I mean, it was a disappointing performance. Defensively, this team has some issues. And like Sherrod said, the bench gave them nothing. I looked at the guy I focused on is Sam Hauser. And it's sort of starting to become a concern because if you look at Hauser, okay, I'm looking at Hauser last few ball games. Okay, Hauser in December. Against Sherrod's Pistons at home, his last good game, he had 20 points, or he had 2 good games. The Detroit and Milwaukee, he had 9 threes, he had 36 total points. He comes back against Memphis, he plays 9 minutes, he He's 0 for 2, no points. A couple nights later at Washington, he has 12 points. Okay, it's the Wizards. With the last 2 games, he's played 30 total minutes, and he's gotten up 1 shot, 0 for 1. No goose eggs in the last 2 games, the Orlando and Boston and Philadelphia game. Like, they got to have something from him. And then, as you guys saw, they thrown him out on defense against Tyrese Maxey. And it's just, it's not going to work. Mm-hmm. It's a mismatch. Maxey views that as a disrespectful move, and he should.
As he should.
Yeah.
And he cooked them. And, you can't, we asked Missoula, what do y'all do against Maxey? Because y'all don't seem to defend him well. This is not new. He went off in the playoff series. He's gone off. Well, you make him go left, and you don't want him he took some shots we wanted him to take. Like, he cooked you guys, right? 33 points. And then and I'm gonna pull Dwayne Rankin here. I don't even want to talk about. I ain't gonna bring up Caleb Martin. I ain't gonna bring that dude up. I mean, when the Celtics gonna learn? When the hell are the Celtics gonna learn? This dude just does well against you. It is you. It's a you problem. You can go.
I ain't gonna bring that up.
Yeah, I ain't gonna bring it up.
You gonna bring up that he was killing when he was in Miami.
I ain't gonna say nothing. I'm gonna do y'all solid. I'm gonna stall y'all out. Say the old cats. I'm gonna stall you out. I know the young people don't know what that means. When you stall somebody out, or stall him out, like you gave him a break.
Oh,
I ain't gonna bring that up. I ain't gonna bring up that he cooked them. He killed them in the Eastern Conference Finals 2 years ago. Same dude.
Yeah, true.
And you just leave him open for threes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he was 30%. I get it. 30% entering the game. It's you. You know that. There's some dudes just cook the Celtics. We have a list.
Mm-hmm. Ish Smith is on that list. That's another one.
Ish Smith.
Yeah.
Some dudes just cook the Celtics.
I ain't gonna bring up Ish Smith how he cooked. We ain't gonna bring that up.
Don't bring it up.
Mo Wagner. They're just certain dudes that just kill the Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
He is one of them. He's on the top of the list. You gotta, after the third one, maybe you say, okay, it's his night. Like, we've got to. Nope. You just keep letting him shoot him. And he goes 7 for 9. Like, that's losing basketball. Mm-hmm. Just sticking, we're not going to adjust. We're going to stick to this game plan. We're going to hope he starts missing. Like, no. These are NBA guys. You guys watch the pregame. Dudes be hitting 8, 9 threes in a row, and you're like, damn, that dude ain't even a three-point shooter. These dudes do practice this shot.
Right.
So there's times where they're going to get hot. And to me, I just think they need some adjustments. They need some leadership. The bench needs to be better. We talked about Peyton Pritchard is now in a slump. He was 0 for 8 from 3. He's 3 for his last 19. Teams are starting to really defend him hard. Like, he has gotten on the scouting report. They know, okay, when this dude comes in the game, he's a shooter. He's going to spark the team. And so you don't have that spark coming off the bench. You don't have Hauser scoring anything. He literally took 1 shot in his last 30 minutes. He missed it. So where's your bench? So you're depending on the starters. No Drew Holiday. Porzingis got hurt. We'll see how that goes and how long he's out. So this team has issues, and they got Indiana coming up. Indiana's playing well. So who knows? But I ain't gonna bring that up though.
No, don't bring that up. We'll actually get into that right before we wrap up this episode. But the Celtics, as you pointed out, have lost now back-to-back games, the first time this season. Injury, illness, there's so many concerns at this point, but I'm going to have you both pick and roll. Is it a big deal, much ado about nothing, or somewhat concerning that they've had these back-to-back losses?
What you think, Gary?
It's a concern. I mean, this team is, as I wrote last night, 37-4 at home last season. This season, 11-5. They've already lost more home games, and we're not even in December yet, than they did all of last year. So I'm not sure what they've got to. Obviously, you want to get healthy, and health is an issue. But you got to start playing some defense. You got to make some statements. I mean, you can't always just be chucking the threes and think that's going to save you, and you're not scoring in the paint. You're giving up. You're not getting any stops. Great. It's great to shoot threes. Hey, we all love the three ball, but last night, 20 for 49, they hit 20 of them. All 20 were by their starters. All their starting lineup had really good days from the three-point line. All of them hit half their threes. White, Brown, Porzingis, Horford, and Tatum all hit half their threes. So you would think they would win that game, and they lost, and they lost. The defense was not there. They gave up 17 threes. They gave up. Philly went to the line 19 times. You're fouling too much. You're not playing good defense. So they got some problems they have to address. And it's just not, we're going to get out of this. We're good. No. You got to play your way out of this. They got to play hard 100% of the time, quit being lackadaisical, these stretches. You come out against Orlando, you're up 15 at halftime, and I was at that game. They should have been up more. They had chances to go up 20. Then you allow a 7-0 run to begin the second half, and the game was completely changed. Then you're letting two-way guys get you. You're letting teams shove you around, and then you come into this game and you don't play with no fire. You don't play like you mad. You play like, they're a losing team. We're just going to blow them off the court with threes. No, the three is a great weapon to have, but to me, you got to defend. It doesn't matter. Teams are starting to, one, counter the Celtics three-point shooting, and two, they're being more physical with them. You're pushing them around. The Celtics are getting known as Sherrod. You don't want to get known as a soft team.
Mm-hmm.
Push them around. What are they going to do? Nothing. Complain to the officials. And the Celtics got to start pushing back.
Yeah, I mean, I think these two losses, I think it's a big deal because to me it amplifies the concerns that some had with this defending NBA champion, and that is they would not play with the same level of aggression, same level of consistency, the same level of focus and fire that they did a year ago. And you understand that they can still be a really good team and do that, but the problem right now appears to be is they haven't figured out that happy medium between playing with a certain level of focus and fire and going all out. Because if they went all out every game, they could beat every team they play pretty much by damn near 20, 30 points. We saw that last year. That's kind of how this season went. It looks as though they're trying to figure out how can we be have a little bit more juice, a little bit more gas in the tank at the end of the season, but still be really good in the process. And what happens is that we get games like these last two games where they ease up on that too much and can't finish teams off. And part of that is because so many of the part-time players who aren't Tatum, aren't Brown, but are integral to their success are not getting it done. If Peyton Pritchard goes into a slump and you have Sam Hauser not knocking down shots and you're not getting any other juice off the bench and you have guys like Drew Holiday who misses a game here and there because of illness or Al with load management or Porzingis with an injury, you now all of a sudden you have a lot more instability with your squad than you had. And that instability is going up against teams that are looking at you as the standard that they want to be, and they're playing their best basketball. You start looking at just the shooting numbers and split numbers for the teams that typically beat the Celtics, and those teams, when they beat Boston, that's usually one of, if not their best game of the season. And that's the kind of competition that you're facing on a night in, night out basis. And if you're Boston, you can't afford to just kind of put it in cruise mode and beat teams the way you think you can. Because right now, as Gary pointed out earlier, teams are starting to figure out how to get to be the best version of themselves on a little bit more consistent basis. And those are the teams that the Celtics are starting to see. And those are the teams that, if we're being honest and keeping it real, those are the teams that are kicking their ass. And if they don't figure this out, they're going to be doing the same thing this summer that you and I are going to be doing, and that's watching basketball. And that's not what they want to do. That's not the plan. That's not the goal. That's not the expectation, particularly when you go all in on the championship team that you had a year ago and bring them all back, and yeah, I don't want to bring up the fact that, it's been damn near a decade since the team repeated as champions because they typically don't play as hard as they did. Now I'm going to bring up the fact that that soft label that you touched on is a label that the Celtics really up until the last couple of years had been trying so damn hard to shed. That was part of who they were perceived as being. And it looks like they're having moments where they look like that team from 2, 3, 4 years ago that many, frankly, just if we just physical with them, that will be enough to beat them. And the last couple of games, even though the Celtics, the numbers may show that they've done pretty good on the boards, that does not reflect the physicality that they are, frankly, receiving from teams. And to be candid, they're not responding to accordingly. So this is a big deal, these two losses. And you know, the next couple of games they got coming up against a feisty team like Indiana that in many ways is kind of like Orlando and Philadelphia as far as teams that there are great expectations for. They struggled out the gate. And now they're starting to figure some things out. And this game is going to be a much tougher game now than it would have been if they played like 2, 3, 4 weeks ago.